people are losing tens of thousands of dollars. It's gone on for years. You may be one of those. After you watch this video, you'll get a good understanding. You may have someone that has been preyed upon, maybe a friend or a family member. I'm talking about doing things to your house. People are cashing in the equity of their home only to later realize they've taken a huge financial loss. Whether you're a home buyer or a homeowner, after you watch this video, you're going to have a complete understanding of what to put in your home, what never to do to your home, what to not put around your home, and most importantly, the contractors to hire. Quick tips on what you need to look for to make sure you hire the right contractor, and most importantly, a quick little trick to ensure that you don't hire the wrong contractor so your roof doesn't look like that. Now, to begin, I want to start with the roof. Something as simple as every house has to have a roof, right? Got to have roof, got to have shelter. Unfortunately, these are just shingles. You can get architectural shingles. There's different types. There's also metal roofs. What I always tell folks is you got to watch being talked into a metal roof. A metal roof is a great roof. However, you're going to hear every speck, every drop of rain, and if there's ever any sort of a hail or large ice, trees, anything like that, it's not as easy to fix as just an asphalt shingle roof. And they cost triple the amount. Now, when you have an asphalt shingle roof and you have work done to your house or the roof replaced, you never want to go over top of an old roof. Have them tear it completely off. Make sure you ask that question. Write these things down. Are they going to tear the roof off? You want to take it all the way down to the plywood, because you never know when there's plywood damage, just like this right here. You see that corner? That's damage. Well, what happens is you have gutters on a house, then leaves fall in it, and you think it's just stuff with leaves, but the decking underneath those asphalt shingles act as a wick. They pull water up. Next thing you know, you have mold, you have corrosion, you have termites. There's also a right way and a wrong way to put a roof on a house. You'd be surprised the people that have purchased a contractor, to hire a contractor to put a roof on a home, only to realize when they go to sell it years later that the shingles on the home were put on backwards. So how do you get past all this, and what are the questions that you need to ask? For one, I always tell people, ask for references, 3 to 5 references, names, phone numbers, and actual physical addresses. Call the people, go by their house, look at their roof. Putting a roof on a house is one of the largest replacements you will do. And unfortunately, if a house has a roof when you bought it, if it had windows when you bought it, if it had a central heat and air unit when you bought it, when you make those improvements to put in new, you don't get all that money back. So you want to make sure that the roof that you put on the house is going to sustain you for the lifetime that you own it, or at the very maximum 30 years. Now look, when I say people get preyed and lied to, it frustrates me a little bit, because we've all seen a lot of these commercials and these companies, and they say, real estate agents say, if you add windows to your house, you're going to have a 40% gain. That is straight up lies. I don't care if the company's out there. I believe in being honest with people. My name's Wayne Turner. I've been in this real estate business for 30 years. I've done everything when it comes to real estate. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just impressing upon you to make sure what you're learning from me is from real life experience. I get a little high pitched and I get a little frustrated because I know there's people out there, and it's not just elderly folks. There's doctors, lawyers, attorneys, there's business owners. They just want it fixed. They want it done right. But when you do an addition on a house like this right here, I call that a scab, because this house is once an all brick house, and then somebody's taken the brick off of that and then they did an add-on. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure, and there's an old saying, my dad was a framing contractor for many years, and there's an old saying, you want to make sure that improvement, that addition, that add-on looks like it was born that way. Now please understand, there is cheap windows and there are good windows. Believe you me, I've had windows replaced in the home that I'm currently in right now, and I've never replaced windows in a house. I've wanted to a time or two, because I think personally it should be illegal. Some of these inexpensive windows that they make, you know, the ones that are aluminum, they frost, they freeze over, it's cold outside, you can scrape the frost off, they fog, that sort of thing. You want to put a good window in the house, but you don't need a 9 triple pane vinyl that tilts in that costs you $1,000 a piece. A good average window shouldn't cost you any more than $300 to $400, no matter where you live in the country. If they're charging you more than that, then simply get a second opinion. It's no big deal. Just say next and move on. Another big ticket item is HVAC, central heat and air units, HVAC. Heating, ventilation, air conditioning. We all got to have it. Makes us comfortable, right? However, a guy can show up, a gal can show up and say, hey, here's we got top of the line, middle of the road, and then the bottom. It's easy to go to the top of the line, because, especially when they say, well, we can finance. Oftentimes when they say we can finance, they're slapping a lien on your house, or they're getting to get a second mortgage on your home or a home equity line of credit. And that's all fine and good, but you have to make sure that, you know, You always have to ask yourself, how long am I going to stay in the house? How much longer am I going to be in the house? Because when you go to sell that house and you spend $15,000 on one central heat and air unit, you're not going to get any of that money back. Now let's talk about one that's real popular right now. You may be one of these people that purchased this or know somebody who's selling it, know somebody purchased it, and they call it an encapsulated crawl space, to where literally they take and put all this plastic and insulation underneath your house. Listen, you got to understand, raised homes 3 to 4 to 5 feet off the ground have been around for over 100 years. And now all of a sudden they're saying you got to have plastic, you got to have a sump pump, you got to have this high pressure fan. And oh, by the way, it's going to be $15,000. Listen, you need a nice vapor barrier that's a good thick mill plastic on the dirt of your house. And then from there, your columns, if you want to, you can literally have somebody paint those with some Kiehl's paint. You can also have somebody paint the interior of your block. When you look up underneath your house, you'll see brick or block. If it has brick on the outside, you'll see brick on the outside, but brick or block on the inside. You can simply put some good Kiehl's paint on that. You can also put a good vapor barrier down. And always keep the vents open. So many people take and close those vents, even in the winter months. Listen, I know it's going to make the floor cold, but you also have to understand, in the winter months, in the deep north, it's okay to put a heater up underneath there to keep it warm. It's okay to put a fan up underneath there. But I would personally, unless I just have water coming up 1 or 2 feet deep underneath my crawl space of my house, I would never put a sump pump in. You have to understand, every home that's on a crawl space has a positive drain. That lot is graded before they ever dig footings and build your house. That lot is graded to a point, typically in the back or the front of the house. And so if there's any water that does accumulate underneath your house, it goes into that drain called a positive drain, and it drains out. That way there's never any water. However, those drains get clogged, they get plugged. Some houses just don't get them put in, and that's a mistake. But you don't need to spend so much money doing this encapsulated crawl space. You can do it if you want to. Perhaps it will improve your home, but I can tell you, you're not going to get the money back when you sell it. Now, please keep in mind, this information is based on my opinion of 30 years in the business. Some people say, I love my enclosed, encapsulated crawl space, and there's nothing wrong with that. My whole point is, you can't spend $15,000 to $20,000 on something and expect a buyer to come along and say, ooh, that's great. I like the plastic, the sump pump, and the fan. Let me pay you more for your house because the neighboring house down the street doesn't have it. It's not the way it works. You also have to know, when you make any improvements to your home, you want to stay neutral with colors. A lot of you out there, give me a thumbs up or comment if you've ever had this. You'll have the avocado green or the harvest gold, right? Those appliances. And those were in the style years ago. We seen the Brady Bunch, right? They are not anymore. Typically, if you're going to make any improvements to a house, you'll want to do stainless, or at the very minimum do black appliances. White appliances are kind of out. Now they're doing stainless appliances. They've been doing that for a while. When it comes to countertops, you want to look, if anything, get a designer to help you make these improvements. You always want to go neutral on your walls. The lighter the color on the walls, the bigger the room looks. And you'll want to do eggshell or a flat paint. A lot of people say, well, you don't want to do flat, shows ever scuff. That's not the case. That was years ago. Now the engineering and the quality of the paint is pretty phenomenal when it comes to doing flat or eggshell. When it comes to flooring or anything like that, you'll want to do a neutral color on your floors. The gray is real popular. The dark wood's good. The light wood's good. But don't do any crazy blues or any color schemes. You want to make sure you pull that into your room with your personal decor. Another issue we see is solar panels. A lot of people have solar panels put on their house, and then they want to sell their home. And they go to sell their home, and they're paying payments on the solar panels. And then they'll stop paying payments on the solar panels. And the people want to come and pick up the solar panels. And they've literally drilled into your roof, and they've got to make changes. And then you got to fix shingles. It's just an absolute nightmare. You just have to know that, how long am I going to live in this house? Am I stable in my job? Am I going to be relocating? Are the grandkids here? Are they going to be moving soon? Are we going to be following to that state? You have to go through your brain and say, what kind of questions do I need to be asking myself to make sure that these improvements that I make on the home? Because listen, you could spend $40,000 in solar panels, but you have to look, if that's going to save you $500 a month in electricity, how long do you have to live in that house to get that $40,000? It's a quick work of math. The same way with windows. You can put good windows in a house. I've replaced every window in my home, as I mentioned. As a result, my utility bills dropped about $150, $200 a month. But I spent well over $10,000 for windows in my home. So you can see it made it quieter. I don't hear the noise. It's more peaceful in the house. It's warmer, it's cooler. But you can see when you do that, and I spent that money, I'm not going to get all of that back until I stay in the house for years into the future. When it comes to hiring a contractor, you want to make sure you always get a copy of their insurance on anything they do on your property, because what people fail to realize is that if somebody's doing work on your home and they're not licensed, bonded, and insured, if they get hurt working on your house, on your property, they can actually sue you. Yeah, and believe it or not, your insurance company will write them a check and you have to pay the deductible. So you always want to make sure you get a copy of their insurance. Are they licensed? Are they bonded? Are they insured? See all that paperwork. You also want to ask for references. Always, always, always ask for references. And a good little trick is what I tell everybody. Walk to the truck after you've met them at your house. If their dashboard looks like a sea of paper and their vehicle is an absolute mess, rest assured they will have a messy job site. They have a messy vehicle, and they're going to be messy on the job, and more than likely messy on the completion of the work. And listen, I don't mean to upset anybody. This is just factual information that I've learned over the years that just doesn't tend to work out well. Another thing you never want to do is pay them all the money up front. Typically give them a half or a third up front, and you want to know when they're going to start working, a date on a contract, and when they anticipate it being done, complete, on a contract. But you also have to understand that you need to add about 20% of time, whatever date they say it's going to be complete. Because so many people get frustrated with their contractor, whether you're building a house or having improvements done, you never know if somebody's going to die, a family member's going to get ill, or someone's got to go out of town for an emergency, or the weather, or shipment, or anything that can take place that can slow things down. You just have to know that up front so you're not disappointed if it goes a little bit over when it comes to completion. So listen, at the end of the day, like I say, don't overspend, because they will certainly overlend. If you have good credit and substantial equity in your house, they'll gladly give you the money for it. You just want to make sure any add-ons or improvements that are done in your house are the same material. And yes, if you have a brick home, they can brick the outside of this, they can pour slab. It's going to cost you more, but it's not going to look like it was done after the fact. Most people do not like that. It makes it harder to sell, and the only way to combat that is to lower the price. When you're hiring a designer, like I'd mentioned, you have to watch hiring the designer if their uncle, brother, cousin, dad, or husband is the contractor. Get plenty of bids, estimates, and always, always, always do your research. Ask for recommendations. Go by those houses. Call those people, get phone numbers, go a little bit deeper than just making a phone call. It's your house. It's one of the most expensive things we spend our money on. Until next time, thank you. God bless you. Subscribe to the channel. My goal is to teach you something on every single episode.